Have you ever stopped to think about how one single day can tell a story about our entire world? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to hit pause on one day, March 26th, 2026, and piece together this incredible global puzzle. You'll see how a single conflict can ripple out and connect events in ways you'd never expect. So, we kick things off in the White House. President Trump is talking about the conflict with Iran, and on the surface, this sounds pretty good, right? Negotiations are going very well. You hear that and you think, okay, maybe things are finally calming down. But, well, the global markets are telling a very different story. And boom, there's the reality check. Oil prices have rocketed past $100 a barrel. Now, this isn't just some number on a screen. Think of it as a huge flashing red light for the global economy. It's screaming instability, and it completely contradicts those calm words we just heard. So let's dive right into the epicenter of all this anxiety, that incredibly tense, fragile standoff between the US and Iran. What is it that's got the entire world holding its breath? Okay, so what we're looking at is this incredibly delicate diplomatic dance. The US has hit pause on any strikes against Iranian energy sites, which is good, but it's a temporary truce, and there's a hard deadline coming up fast on April 6th. And all the while, this big 15-point peace plan is just hanging in the balance. It's a real nail-biter. And you can't talk about this conflict without talking about the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, a massive chunk of the entire world's oil supply has to pass through this one narrow waterway. So even with a temporary pause in strikes, control of this choke point is still a huge, huge point of friction. And this, right here, just perfectly captures the confusion. You've got US officials on one hand saying, hey, there are still live underwater mines out there. But then at the same time, the president is claiming total victory, saying all the mine droppers are gone. So who's right? This kind of fog of war just throws gasoline on the fire of global anxiety. So you might be thinking this is just a regional problem, right? Wrong. This tension has immediate, very real costs for all of us. Let's trace how these economic shockwaves are already spreading around the planet. And our first stop is Japan. As one of the world's biggest economies, they are feeling the pressure from these crazy energy prices and these shaky supply lines. So they've decided to do something pretty drastic. They're tapping into their strategic oil reserves. Trust me, this is a move that no country ever wants to make. And to give you a sense of scale, we're talking about 8.5 million kiloliters of oil. That is a massive amount. It's basically a month's worth of their emergency supply, all being pushed into the market to try and soften the economic blow. It just goes to show you how seriously countries are taking this threat. And now for the really big picture. The OECD is putting out a warning. They're saying, look, things like recent US tariff cuts should be helping the global economy grow, but any of those potential gains, they're basically being completely erased by these surging energy costs. This conflict has put the brakes on the entire global economy. All right, so let's pull back from the numbers and look at the high-stakes chess game of diplomacy that's being played right now. While the US and Iran are in this standoff, you better believe other world powers are making their own moves on the board. You know, to really understand what's happening today, March 26th, you've got to look at the calendar. Everyone is watching that April 6th deadline for the strike pause. But right after that, in May, there's this massive US-China summit, a meeting that's already been delayed because of all this. Every single move today is being made with an eye on these future dates. And this is fascinating. On the exact same day, you see these two totally different visions for how the world should work. Over in China, a top leader is at a big forum, talking about open markets and free trade. Meanwhile, North Korea and Belarus are signing a formal treaty of friendship and cooperation. It's like you can literally see the world choosing sides in real time. But here's the thing. Even when one crisis is dominating all the headlines, the world doesn't just stop. So let's take a quick tour of some of the other major stories unfolding on this very same day. And man, is it a whirlwind. There are reports of other Iranian strikes on its neighbors. In occupied Ukraine, Russia is reportedly training teenagers to fly combat drones. And then back in the US, a government agency is trying to team up with Silicon Valley to overhaul nuclear power rules. Seriously, on any other day, any one of these could be the top story. But, you know, it's not all conflict and chaos. Amidst everything else going on, for millions of people in Bangladesh, today is a day of huge national pride. They're celebrating their 56th Independence Day. It's a powerful reminder that history, culture, and identity march on, no matter what. And life also finds a way through things like sports. I mean, look at this. The Under-20 football championship is kicking off with a classic India-Pakistan matchup. At the same time, the European Masters Athletics Championships are starting in Poland. These are moments of connection and competition that are totally separate from geopolitics.
So, what does it all mean? When you look at everything, a military pause in Iran, oil reserves in Japan, a treaty in North Korea, a national holiday in Bangladesh, you realize our world isn't just a bunch of separate events. It's one huge, tangled story, all happening at once. It really makes you wonder, on a day this connected, where does one story even end and another one begin?